Parshat Tetzaveh, the Torah continues talking about the creation of the Mishkan, Kadosh Baruch Hu telling Moshe what to do. And this week we dove deep into one of the specific clothing that Kohen Gadol used to wear, the Ephod and the Choshen on top of it, because we find something very interesting about them.
Yeah, we see several psukim describing in different places this idea of Aaron having to have stones with the names of Am Yisrael written on them. He has them here on his chest, on the Choshen, but he also has them on his shoulders. We tried to really understand what was this all about. Why does he have to have all over the place the names of Am Yisrael written on?
Exactly. Not only does he have to have them on his chest and on his shoulders, but it's meant lezikaron, and the Torah emphasizes it several times. Lezikaron lifnei Hashem. Is it zikaron for Kadosh Baruch Hu to look at and remember Am Yisrael? Is it for Aaron to look at? What is this zikaron for? What is this remembrance for? Why even have these stones on the shoulders and on the chest? What is going on? What is this about? And very interestingly, what important message does it have for us today in our time, specifically now with what's going on? Hope you enjoy it. Take a look. So yes, this week, Parshat Tetzaveh, we continue talking about the creation of the Mishkan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanding Moshe to create the Mishkan and everything that goes with it. And the beginning of the Parsha, Parshat Tetzaveh, discusses how Hashem telling Moshe to create the Bigdei Kehuna, the clothes for the Kohanim, the special uniform that they used to wear. We discussed this in the past. Why do they even need a uniform? What are these clothes about? We thought that in Judaism, in Yiddishkeit, we don't go after external things. We care more about the inside of things. So why do they have a uniform? This year, what I want to talk about is the first part of these Bigdei Kehuna, of these special clothes. The first piece of clothing that the Torah discusses is the Ephod. The Ephod, that on top of that went the Choshen. And we all know the Choshen. The Choshen is this tablet 4x3 of special gems which had the names of Am Yisrael on them, and inside it went the Urim v'Tumim. But very interestingly, when you look in the Torah, there is another part to this Choshen, which is the Ephod, and this Ephod has a very interesting purpose. On top of the Ephod, by the shoulders, there were another two gems called Avnei Shoham. And these Avnei Shoham, these two had the names of Am Yisrael on them, of the 12 tribes, 6 on each side. And the Torah emphasizes not only once, but twice, that these stones are meant lezikaron, for remembrance of Am Yisrael and for Aaron. But it isn't really clear what remembrance is it meant for. Is it meant to remind Aaron of his service? Is it meant for Kadosh Baruch Hu to see? But also, if we already have the Choshen with the names on these gems, why do you need them on top over here? Because the Torah says, again, specifically, that these names on the Choshen are there for remembrance too. These names too are meant lezikaron. So, number one, who is this zikaron for? What is this remembrance for? But number two, why do we need this remembrance in two places, both on the shoulders and on the Choshen itself?
Yeah, in general, this whole idea of the names of Am Yisrael being written on Aaron's clothing is an interesting idea. And I think it's interesting because you see the focus here of Aaron and his children, the Kohanim, and their special clothing and their special jobs they're going to do. And we know also how later this idea of Aaron being chosen doesn't go by that well. Parshat Korach, when Am Yisrael argue, Korach and many others come together, why are you choosing you, Moshe and Aaron? We all want to be holy. There's this competition between them. And it's interesting because there, the whole story ends with each one writing on their staff their name, and each name is there on its own, and this is the test. Which staff is going to blossom? But here, we actually have everyone's name on Aaron's shoulder. And maybe that's really the message, because it's a message both to Am Yisrael and to Aaron. Am Yisrael, you don't need your name on your own staff. Your name is on Aaron's shoulders. Aaron isn't there for himself, and this is a message to Aaron too, to the Kohanim. Yes, you have special clothing. Yes, you have a special role, but you know what that role is all about? And it's written all over you. That role is about your responsibility for Am Yisrael. And I think this is represented in the shoulders. This is a strange thing to put on your shoulders. We have the forehead where we have the Kodesh LaHashem. As you said, there's the Choshen. But what's the shoulders about? But as we know, the shoulder represents the things you carry on top of you, your responsibility. We know the Levim, Bakatef Isau, they carry the Mishkan. They carry the different parts, the different kelim of the Mishkan on their shoulder. Bakatef Isau, your shoulder represents what you're taking upon you, that responsibility. And that's what Hashem is telling Aaron, is telling the Kohanim, and is telling Am Yisrael who see Aaron. Aaron is not there for himself. All these special clothing, everything that Aaron is going to do is just for one reason, because he's carrying you on shoulders. At all times, nonstop, he will remember, you will remember that he is holding you on your shoulders. But it doesn't end there, because as we know, there are many people who are sent by the people, they're chosen, they're maybe voted in for certain responsibilities. But once they get there, on the outside, they'll always show that they're representing others, but often they get very caught up in their role, in their pride, in their own desires. And maybe that's why Aaron has a double reminder. There's the zikaron on the shoulders. This is what everyone sees. This is him taking on that responsibility. But as we know, the heart represents, as we say, piv v'libo shavim. When someone speaks just as he feels, just as he thinks, he's speaking from the heart, they're aligned. We say piv v'libo shavim, the heart. Vayomer el libo says to his heart means what you're feeling inside. When Aaron is not only taking the responsibility on the outside, but also on the inside takes that responsibility, it's both on his shoulders and on his heart. On the outside, everyone needs to see that. They need to not forget that he's there for them, that he is there with them. But also he has to not forget and have it in his heart that everything he's doing, all the special roles, all the special places he's going to step into, he's stepping into with them and for them. And maybe that's exactly what the word zikaron is. Because as we know, Zikaron sometimes shows up about Hashem. As we say, Hashem is Zocher Brit Avot. He remembers the covenant with our forefathers. We have on Rosh Hashanah that we blow the shofar and we remind, but we don't need to remind the Kadosh Baruch. But the concept Zikaron in Hebrew, in the Lashon of Torah, means the following. There's knowledge that we have, and then there's remembering. I can know I need to do something, but I don't actually do it because I forgot. It wasn't in my memory. Something that you remember is something that is actively influencing the way you're acting. If I did remember, I would actively go and do it. When we say we're reminding something before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not saying that till then he didn't know that there was a covenant. It's that we want to bring about that's what we're going to see in the world. That remembering, that fact will actually impact the way things are. And that's what we're saying here. The responsibility isn't just something you say, isn't just something you wear on yourself. That responsibility at the end is supposed to be lezikaron. It's not only that you were voted in for some role or chosen even by HaKadosh Baruch Hu and know that you are responsible for others. It's that it's actively impacting you now, every moment. This is how you are acting. This is what you are doing. You are lezikaron lifnei Hashem. You have Am Yisrael on your shoulders, in your heart. Everything you're going to do before Hashem is in their name and is for them. Exactly. These stones, these names are there not only to be there as a remembrance, something to remember here and there, but actually to live with, to live by, and even more so, literally, physically, to weigh on him, to pull him down, for him to feel that weight on him. This is why the Choshen, the Ephod, are attached the way they are attached. You have to connect the Choshen to the Ephod with the Ptil Tchelet. With the Ptil Tchelet, we might not always remember, but the Kohen Gadol had another Ptil Tchelet, not only in his tzitzis. This too was connected with a Ptil Tchelet, the Choshen, to the Ephod, through the straps, through these ktefaim, through these stones on his shoulders. This is how the Choshen was connected in order for him to feel the weight on his shoulders, to feel the weight of Am Yisrael, of Am Yisrael's names, in order for him to live, to make sure that he's doing his avoda, that he's doing his work in the Mikdash, not only in their name and not only remembering them, but actually really feeling them. And maybe this is why Davka, there is this concept of Avnei Zikaron, like the Torah says, stones of remembrance. This Avnei Zikaron, we know this concept of a stone. We've talked about this in the past. And Evan appears first in Parashat Bereshit, where the world is created as part of the elements of the world, of the Sodot of the world, the foundations of the world, together with gold, together with other things that I mentioned over there. And this Evan also, we know very interestingly from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, when he went to sleep on Har HaMoriah, we talked about this in the past too, but he took this stone and he put it beneath his head. And then when he woke up in the morning, and then he had this dream of angels going up and down. And we discussed this, how he wakes up in the morning and he doesn't leave it in a dream, but he actually takes it into action. He turns it into part of his life. He makes sure that his life from now on is going to be lived based on that dream. And he makes a neder, he vows, he makes a vow from now on for the future. And he uses this stone, this Evan, he turns it into a matzeva, into a remembrance, into an Evan Zikaron, for him to remember that from now
now on, he is not the same person anymore, but he's taking this dream with him from here onwards. And the same thing we see Yaakov do later on when he comes back to Eretz Yisrael several times, but even more so when Rachel Imenu is niftar, he goes and he puts a matzeva where she's buried to remember. He puts this Evan, this matzeva, to remember Rachel, to remember who she was for him, in order for him to continue his life with her, but more so in order for her to be there and for Am Yisrael to realize that she's there, as we know very famously later on. When Am Yisrael goes to Galus, they can go there and daven by her, daven by Rachel mevakal banea when they're going to Galus, so they will recognize that place based on the matzeva that Yaakov does. This is the Evan of Yaakov. This is the Evan with the names, with the zikaron. This is why you take this stone, this very raw element that is eternal, that when you want to have something on it, you engrave in it. It also becomes eternal. It also stays there forever. It's not just something that's written on something and can be erased, can be taken away, but it's engraved in it, just like the luchot are written on stone, are carved into stone, are engraved into stone. This is what it means to have a writing on a stone. And this is what Aaron carries on his shoulders, like you were saying, not only to remember, but to live by, to have it permanent in his heart, to have it permanent on his shoulders, in his mind, to remember that he's there representing Am Yisrael that sent him there. And you know, talking about Yaakov Avinu and the Evan that he put as a matzeva, and the zikaron, the remembrance, and then the Choshen with the avanim, with the names on them that were set in lines, Tur, Odem Piteda Bareket, Tur, the 3x4 of the Choshen. My mind keeps on running, keeps on going to the views you see when you walk onto Har Herzl, the military cemetery right outside Beit Vagan, where our Kedoshim, the ones who gave their life for our nation, for our country, for our land, are buried over there. The very famous story of Rabbi Eilbach, who his Talmidim from Kol Torah right there in Beit Vagan wanted to go up to Tzfat, to some tzaddikim, to graves of tzaddikim, to daven by them. And Rabbi Eilbach looked at him and said, why are you going all the way to Tzfat? You can just cross the road to Har Herzl and go daven over there. You have tzaddikim lying right over there. These tzaddikim, these matzevot over there, they are not just a remembrance. They're not just there in order to remember, to have some kind of memory of the ones who have fallen. But it's more than that. They are there to remind us of their sacrifice and to make sure that we live our life in a way that makes their sacrifice worthy. We have to live up to that sacrifice. These matzevot over there, these stones over there, are there to remind us, to make sure that we elevate our lives, that we don't live our life in a simple, meaningless manner. But every stone over there tells us you have to make sure that you live your life here in Eretz Yisrael for the Jewish nation with purpose, with tremendous purpose, because this is what they gave their lives for, and this is what it means to be part of our Jewish nation and to be here in Eretz Yisrael. This is what it means to be Mamlechet Kohanim Vegoy Kadosh. And you know, there's a very, very famous Hebrew song, HaKotel, about the sacrifices that were made in order to get the Kotel back in 67. And there's a line over there in the song that says, that a rabbi says standing at the Kotel, that underneath the uniform, Kulchem Kohanim Velevim, all of you are Kohanim Velevim. This is what it means to be Mamlechet Kohanim Vegoy Kadosh. Yes, we have Aaron HaKohen, who's there in Kodesh HaKodashim, who's there in the Mikdash, representing us, but he has these stones on his shoulders to keep on reminding him, but not just on the superficial level of just remember, but reminding him in a way that he lives up to it. The same thing, we have our stones, our matzevas around us to remind us that we have to live a life worthy of those matzevas around us, worthy of those lives around us that were sacrificed. Maybe this is what these Avnei Zikaron that the Torah is talking about over here. Maybe this is why Aaron had it both on his shoulders and on his heart. And this is the very clear message that the Torah has for us today.
Yeah, it's interesting the connection you made here between the Matzevat Zikaron, which usually is in memory of someone who's not here, and these Avnei Zikaron, which are basically in memory of people who are here. You know, we tend to remember people when they're not here and not always remember them when they are here. Aaron has this responsibility to have these Avnei Zikaron, not only of people who aren't here anymore, but also of those all around him, Am Yisrael, who now are depending on him, on his shoulders, and he has them on his shoulders and in his heart every single moment.
Very good, very true. We should all be zoche, really, to remember this sacrifice, remember these Avnei Zikaron, and make sure that we too live a life full of purpose in order for these sacrifices to be worthy. Shkoyach Yitzi.
Shkoyach Tuvia, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and Hashem will talk again next week.